Hey, Kevin, I've promoted you to panelist.
Okay,
How are you doing tonight?
good. How are you?
Good.
Been busy all day trying to take advantage of the warm weather before it's gone.
Yes, I did that a little bit here this weekend. It was really nice.
Harvest.com. Get started today. Need life insurance? Select quote, don't you?
So far, you're the only one on Zoom or in person.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, did we get that? Did you see that email that I copied you on with Bob Post?
When was that?
Oh, here recently about the grant.
Yeah.
I just was really concerned because of the emails that I'd gotten from Jeannie at the DNR and cemetery graveyard groomers. I was really worried that something was not quite right there. So,
Oh, yeah. I saw what you said, but I wasn't really sure what the concern was. I haven't talked to Bob in a long time, so I don't know.
okay, I just copied you in as the uh, historic Fall Creek Pendleton
Yep.
settlement
Yep.
liaison.
What was the concern? How we would manage the money or what?
No, if you scroll down, Jeannie and the Walters both said that, hey, we never agreed to be on any video
Oh.
and that they needed to have a serious conversation basically with all parties involved. Um,
Oh, okay. No,
and
I guess I didn't look far enough down.
okay, Bob said that that Suzanne Stannis is aware of the situation, and I haven't heard directly from anybody, but really the town plays host, and that's about it with that grant. So,
Okay, well now I don't know what to say to Bob. Because I agree, if Walters doesn't want to do the video, I mean, that's not going to happen.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I
there
was
may
just
be another way to do a video without them being on it.
So I haven't really been getting into this situation just because June right now seems a long, long ways away, and Bob has really been kind of the pusher behind a lot of the cemetery work, which has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, but I was just a little concerned after I saw those emails because they did not seem particularly happy. Um,
Okay. Well, I missed the last historic Fall Creek meeting
okay.
because I wasn't healthy. So
Ooh, are you okay now?
yeah, I had a little bit of gastrointestinal thing going on there.
Ooh.
I don't know we babysat the grandkids, and then it started right after that. So I figured, they're little germ factories.
Yep. Yeah, they
I
don't
wasn't
quite
sure
get
if the meeting was going to be at 6, but that doesn't start till January or what? When was that?
that does not start until January.
Okay, all right. Because one of the um, calendar invites said 6 o'clock, I think.
Uh-oh. Uh,
It was one of the early ones. It might have
okay.
been before daylight savings time changed over and something went kaflooey. I don't know.
Okay. We've got, I know it's on Zoom at 7, so hopefully everybody got that memo. But we've got 10 minutes still, so hopefully.
Well, I don't think anybody was around at 6, so.
No, no one called me or anything, so.
Are we ready to do that survey at some point in the spring, you think?
I don't know. I need to get back into that. We've been trying to get the UDO in place and actually get the historic district as an overlay district, a true overlay,
Yeah.
so that it can more easily kind of move over zoning districts,
Yep.
kind of as an additional layer. And then hopefully we'll get back into it. And I guess kind of see like how, I don't, Kevin, I'm curious what you think about this. do we really need to be looking at our ratings with the traditional contributing, non-contributing, notable, outstanding rating system? Or do we need to find something different that maybe plays more into like character versus true historic value?
Well, it really comes down to whatever the Indiana law says. If the Indiana law is moot on what method you use to do the categorization, then fine.
Mm-hmm. What's
So,
your take on it? I mean, do you think we need to be looking at true historic value, or do we need to be looking at some other
well, I mean, I've been concerned right along that people that move into Pendleton realize that they're part of a greater good, a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't choose to be part of that whole, they probably should live someplace else.
Yeah.
That's I don't know how you would manage to word that, but that's my biggest concern is that you're courteous to your neighbors and you try to make sure that the government, whatever form that may be, but that the government agrees with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've already got a lot of houses that just don't look historic anymore. They've lost a lot of their character. They've been, sided with aluminum siding or vinyl siding, and they just don't look right.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my preference, is to find a way to convince people that they're part of a community that has this as one of their highest purposes.
Oh, yeah, it's just me and one commission member so far, so hopefully we get quorum.
You still got 6 minutes.
Yeah. But we'll have to talk more about this, Kevin, sometime when you're maybe here, or we're having a little brainstorming session on that, because I would like to pick that back up. But yeah, I think that's just something that stuck out to me from the last time. It was difficult to really, I mean, what's contributing versus non-contributing in Pendleton? I mean, a lot of the residential properties have had some work done, but they still hold a certain charm.
Sure.
By kind of keeping up with that historic residential neighborhood layout.
Well, Sandy may disagree because she was involved in the original survey for the historic register.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that that's really important. I think the most important thing is that we do whatever it takes for whatever the state requires us to do to be able to expand the historic zone and to include residential properties.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that, well, I don't remember all the details, but it was the 3-year waiting period, and people could opt in, and then after 3 years, everybody gets added.
Yeah, unless like a certain percent voted not to, and that was for a conservation district, which would basically just kind of keep the existing structures. Or basically control kind of what's getting built and torn down.
Yep.
And
I think that would actually go a long way to keep us from doing stupid things. I mean, whenever I see a house torn down like the one on State Street, you got to go, what?
Yeah, that it is a little shocking that some of those are not. Well, the one on State Street. Yeah, okay, sorry, it's clicking which ones you're talking about. Hey, I've got to go grab my cell phone. The petitioner, Tyler Martin, has shown up, but that's it so far. So
Okay.
I'm going to check in with our other members. All right. They might be tuning in via Zoom. Okay. So we'll see what we get. How's everything going over there?
It's going well.
Good, glad to hear it.
Yeah, it's a few small little projects left to do, but
Mhm.
inside, but I was like, it's done enough, so I'm not gonna pay rent anywhere else. So.
Good. Well, we've got Rachel and is it Shayna? Hi.
Hey.
So let's see if we've got any other panelists. We're still waiting for a good portion of the board. We've got Tyler here.
Hey,
But
Tyler.
that's it. Mhm. But I've heard that Denise had mentioned that Kevin was supposed to attend, or I'm sorry, not Kevin. Kevin's here. Craig had RSVP'd. And Dan could not.
Can you hear me, Kayla?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So how many do we have from HPC tonight?
Well, we will need 3 to show up. So Craig and then Sandy and George.
Okay.
It's not like any of them are late usually.
Not usually. Denise, I've permitted you to talk. Sounds weird, doesn't it? There we go. Okay.
Can you hear me?
I'm gonna base you toward a small audience too. There's Tyler.
Just the one of us out here.
Yeah. I hope nobody's feeling under the weather. Let me try calling Sandy.
I can text Craig.
Hey, hey Sandy, how are you? Are you there? Sandy? Sandy, can you hear me? Hello? Sandy, can you hear me? I can hear you now, yep. Are you coming to the HPC meeting tonight? Yes, yep, we've got the Zoom meeting up and running, so just go ahead and join that way. Oh, I know the time change has got us. Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. Thank you. Bye. All right, Sandy is on her way to her computer.
Hey. Will you be at the HPC meeting tonight? Oh, I missed it. Let me see if I can find you one.
You've got Craig, Rachel?
Yeah, I got Craig on the phone. Usually we don't have to enter a password, but try 125111. Yes, if that's the one that you set up with Zoom.
Hey, George, are you there?
How about you
Yes, we do.
close your window and go back to your town email.
We're here. So if you just
And then in your town
come
email,
on down.
there's a link that just says click here to join.
Yes, yep. All right, see ya. Bye.
And then what does it take you to after you click here to join?
I think the time change just kind of screwed everyone up.
It's asking you to sign in. Can you go to, we've got, no, not everybody. We're kind of struggling to get a quorum right now. So Sandy is logging in. Okay, all right, we'll see you in just a few then. Thanks, Craig. No, okay, all right, we'll probably wait, so. Okay, thanks, bye. Craig was having problems logging in, so he's just gonna run down. He'll be here in 5 minutes.
Okay, George is on his way too. So
What did they do before cell phones? Shanna, how have things been over at Jeff Graham's office for you? Are you like feeling settled at all yet?
I actually have COVID right now.
Oh,
so-
you do? You poor thing.
Yeah, so I haven't been in a while.
Aw.
he's representing our attorney.
Yeah, that's awful.
And he's making you work with COVID.
Oh, no, it's okay. I feel, I mean, a lot better now, but still not super great.
Aw. So were your symptoms mild? I mean, if you don't want to talk about this, like tell me to
Oh.
stop asking questions,
No,
but
it's okay. A lot of people have been asking me. I feel like I'm the first person a lot of people know that's had it, but just today I lost taste and smell. So I'm basically just going through all the symptoms like one at a time, which is super weird. But it's
what
I
was
mean,
your first symptom that you had? Or did you get contacted that you needed to get tested?
body aches. Like I could barely stand out of bed. Like I thought my ankles were gonna snap. I was in so much pain.
Wow.
Crazy, yeah. And then the cough started, and then the headaches, and then just working my way through.
Oh.
Well, I'm so sorry. That's so
That's
terrible.
okay.
Do you know where you got it from, or is it just like you don't know?
I have no idea. Like both of my roommates work at a hospital, and they're like, maybe we gave it to you. Like we just don't even know. And I was like, honestly, it could be from anywhere. I don't know.
How weird. Ugh.
I know.
So my middle kid is in quarantine right now. He's not supposed to go back to school until the 20th because he was exposed to a kid at school that had it.
I can't imagine being at
No,
school.
it's just so weird. So weird.
In preschool. So sorry. I forgot my mask. Am I gonna be okay?
I can get you a mask.
That would be awesome. Thank you. So, oh, here, there's one right here.
All right, excellent.
Thank you. Oh, good Lord. In the middle of like working on my storm door.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
Very
Do we sit
good.
up here or socially distance out here?
I would say,
Hey,
yeah,
how
if
do
you
know?
guys want to kind of space out up there, there's just going to be 3 of you up there tonight.
Okay, I'll go down to the end. Hey, you? How are you? Good. How are you? Been a long time.
And
Good.
we just got to wait for Sandy
Been okay.
to
Been
log
busy.
in. Who are you saying had it?
Mrs. Olson and Mrs. Lowe from Friendly Flock.
Uh-huh.
They're Marlowe's teachers, so Marlowe's technically in quarantine now. So
Oh, Mrs. Olson has it?
yeah.
Oh, I love Mrs. Olson.
All right. Yeah. So we're got to figure that out at home. So
How old is she?
5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no daycare, no school. We still have jobs. Open enrollment season.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes it a little challenging.
Yeah.
Weird time.
It is.
It is.
So everybody been keeping busy? What have you been doing? Working. Yeah, working on my house since it's always there.
Yep. It seems like,
Good.
what?
Seems like,
Oh, we have not slowed down really as far as planning projects go. We thought originally that COVID might be a nice time to catch up on some stuff, and
yeah,
that has not been the case. Projects have moved forward. We are very happy that we've gotten our 2 new staff members since
Oh,
the
I bet.
last time we had a real spike. So
yeah, our work got even busier.
Really?
Students freak, well, they're online now instead of face to face, and they hate it, and they're freaking out, and I don't blame them, but. Anyway, do we have Sandy?
we're just waiting on Sandy to log on.
I didn't know this was password protected.
It's usually not.
That wasn't the last time I did it, or the last 2 times I did it.
Okay, I've heard that if you don't open up the Zoom app, that if you instead try to like wait for Zoom to download again, that might make it difficult to log in.
It popped right up as I said, sign in to participate, and I put my Pendleton email in, and the little password that was in the message Denise sent,
Mm-hmm.
but it wouldn't let me, it said one of them was wrong.
Okay.
Kayla, on the attendees, who's the Zoom user? Is that maybe Sandy?
Attendees,
Do you see that one that says Zoom user?
yeah. Hi, Zoom user. May I ask who this is?
Might be Deborah Hale. I'm not sure. I had some trouble getting in, but finally did. So,
Okay, great. Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
All right. Nope, no Sandy yet. Oh, wait.
Now, see, I didn't have to use a password getting in. So that's why I'm curious why Craig's was having issues with the
Mhm.
password stuff.
Maybe you haven't seen it.
Let me see. Sorry to make you wait.
You're fine.
tonight.
Okay.
Sometimes these go super smoothly.
Yeah.
That's not to blame on COVID.
Yeah.
Zoom meetings.
Pendleton. Oh,
Yeah, it's been, they're expecting getting worse, so. Yeah, we've gone back into the office. There's only like 3 or 4 people. Yeah, we can test. I mean, I got out with blood donation, I not had any.
Mhm.
So, I think our whole family sees like 5 people. So.
So I do go to work on Mondays,
Mhm.
but in the entire school, there's 3 of us there on
Now, where
Monday.
are you teaching?
The School of Social Work at IUPUI.
Oh, okay.
And
okay, so you're joining out of your email invite, right?
out of 70 or 80 some.
Okay. And have you opened the Zoom program? Mhm. Okay.
Back into town, State Street on Halloween night. And went by your place and saw the, get up, that was very impressive.
Well, actually, it was really funny. Somebody else down here on State Street, down this way, had the same shoot candy.
I think it is a webinar.
Black stripes.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun though. The kids had a great time. Yeah, they were just down there. They would just put their bag down and launch it down there. It was a lot of fun.
I was impressed with the whole set of the lights and costumes and everything.
Yeah, we do it every year.
Okay, and if you even join just as an attendee, I can promote you to panelist. I can get you set up if you can just get in the meeting.
Hey, Shanna, did you have to do a password when you got in?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Mhm. Okay, so you're on the Zoom website. Is that right? Or
I just sent her another invite to get in, Kayla.
I just sent you
If she
another
goes to her
invite.
email.
You want to look in your email?
Or just put her on speaker.
And if that doesn't work, we're just going to put you on speaker. Okay? No, you're not the only one for sure. So yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track now. Okay.
Did you call it?
Oh. Okay. Do you mind if I just put you on speaker for now? Okay. All right. I'm going to put you on speaker. I know. I'm not sure either. Oh. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not yet. Hey, there you are. All right. Yes. Bye. Hey, there we go. Okay.
Sorry, you guys.
All right. We've got a quorum.
Yeah.
Yay. I'm gonna mute me so you guys won't get any of my back noise.
Is that Jeff with us?
Sheena.
Sheena? Good. Look like Sheena. Is AJ
Is it Shanna or Shayna?
It's Shanna.
Shanna. Okay.
Whoa.
All right.
Chandler. Here.
Let me just get this all.
There you go, sweetie. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. And we're off. Okay. Okay, Craig, it's all yours.
All right. So it's a little after 7. 20 after 7. We'll get this meeting going. Call the meeting. Let's do a roll call to confirm a quorum. We'll start. George Harris here. Greg Campbell here.
Oh, I gotta unmute.
And you just muted yourself. Unmute yourself.
Okay, Sandy Butler here.
Kevin
Thank you.
Kenyon here.
So we do have a quorum. So we can move forward. We're also joined by Shanna and Rachel.
Hi.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting?
I have not looked at them. So
They
I
should be
can't.
in the folder.
They were on the email that Denise sent today also.
Yeah,
We can
we've had a death in the family last week, so my last 2 weeks have been crazy. So I apologize for not reading those minutes. There's just been
We
no
will
time.
sidestep the approval of the minutes from the last meeting for now, and we will take care of that during the next meeting on December 8th.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What do we have?
We have a section on the local facade grant.
Mhm.
And Rachel, were you going to present that?
Yes.
Or, okay.
I will do that.
Give me a share my screen.
Sure. Can you pull up that PDF that I had in there that has just the information on that Pendleton Facade Improvement Grant Program that I put together?
There we go.
I don't see it yet.
Oh, sorry. Suppose it'd be good if I actually shared it.
Okay, while she's getting that pulled up, just to remind everyone, we did get $250,000 worth of funding from the Madison County Economic Development Program, which is also the Food and Beverage Fund, back in, let's see, we applied in December of 2019. And we just got notified, I think it was in September of 2020, that we received the funding. So it's a little bit unique though, because we just don't get our big pot of funds right to begin with. It does depend on how much money the Food and Beverage Fund is bringing in. And there's other projects that have also been committed to, just like ours. And I was told that we will get our first round of funding for it in March of 2021. So we got a little bit of time to work on a grant application and also put some guidelines together. So what I wanted to do tonight with you guys is just start picking your brain about, so what I started doing was I was starting to put an application process together and a grant guidelines packet together. And I thought, I just have way too many questions and I'm not sure where you guys are going to fall on things. So I wanted to really listen to what your thoughts and opinions were first before I started putting something together for you guys. So just to give you some basics for the grant that I wrote to the commissioners, or yes, to the commissioners, was we would expend the funds within a 3-year period. The funds would only be awarded to properties that are both in the local preservation district and in the downtown business district. So this couldn't be used for any properties or anything in the park or in the cemetery. This would have to be in the downtown business district.
So not the,
What was
You
that,
hear-
Sandy?
not the federal historic. So it just.
No,
Okay.
not the National Register District. This would just
Okay.
be our Pendleton local district.
Okay. Okay.
The
good.
funds, for anyone who is applying for funds, they would have to match dollar for dollar, or if they want to spend more money, but we would only do we would only give them, it would be a 50-50 matching grant.
Okay.
And then what I also wrote as part of the grant is that eligible improvements would be for facade work only. So someone couldn't come in and just do a total interior remodel on something. Now, when we worked for the Main Street Revitalization Program funds, we did have a certain amount of feet back in the interior that we could go. So if you're, if you look at the facade of the room that you guys are in right now. There was windows, and we had to do so much work, you know, so far back because of those windows getting opened up, and the ceiling had to be redone. So there is a little bit of interior work that has to be done whenever you're doing facade work. So I think that would be appropriate as part of this, but it's really limited to the exteriors. We had also written that, or got approved, that our goals of the program would be to preserve or rehabilitate facades in the Pendleton Local Historic Preservation District and Downtown Business District. We wanted to stimulate investment in historic downtown Pendleton, maintain and expand the economic contribution of the downtown business district, promote architectural appreciation in historic downtown Pendleton, and initiate aesthetic improvements for historic downtown Pendleton. So what I really think our first step is, like I said earlier, I think we all really need to take a little bit of a dive into other local facade grant programs that are administered by Indiana communities. So in your Google Drive folders, I did do a little bit of research on other communities that are somewhat similar to Pendleton and have similar goals. And you can even do some research on your own. Ones that I included, I think I had Auburn, I had Madison, Indiana, Noblesville has a program. So we can all take a look at some of those programs and get some ideas of things that we want to include in ours and not include in ours, you know, because we're unique, and things that are important to those other communities may not be important to us here in Pendleton.
Okay.
And then I think we need to decide some of the basics. So what are eligible activities? There were some communities, when I was looking into the application process with them, that unique to this year, they were funding outdoor dining possibilities. And I think that was really COVID related. And I don't know if you guys want that to be one of our goals or not. I think, you know, on one hand, there's some good elements of that and maybe some elements that aren't good. It's just going to be something that I think we need to discuss as a group as we move forward. Again, how much interior is acceptable? Should it only be, you know, 10 feet back, similar to that Main Street grant that we had gotten? Are we going to allow purchase of personal property? Like, so I said with the outdoor dining, are we going to allow people to buy, you know, outdoor dining sets and umbrellas and things like that? Should we have a maximum or minimum award amount? In what time frame should the work be completed? So our building permits are usually an 18-month period. However, you know, do we want this to be done in a year? If we give funds, you know, what's that appropriate time frame that a project should be completed? Overall, do we as a committee want to accept applications on a rolling basis, or do we want to do it quarterly or twice a year? And I think that really just depends on, I think it's going to depend a lot on staff and just what you guys think and how often you want to review projects. And then there's some non-basic items that were kind of common through different application processes in other communities. So how do we want to distribute the matching funds? Some handled it as a reimbursement grant. So the property owner had to put the money up front, and then after all the work was done, they submitted their receipts, and then the city or town would then reimburse them for 50% of it. Do we want to distribute the funds up front, or do we want to get billed directly by a contractor, and then the town of Pendleton writes a check to the contractor directly? So there's just some different ways of handling it that I'd like you guys just to kind of think about between now and the next meeting. Another thing that came up when I was doing some research was, do we want to accept in-kind donations, or do we only want to ask for cash match? So, you know, if we know someone who's willing to donate their time, their labor on, you know, tuck pointing a building, are we going to count that as match, or does it have to be a dollar for dollar match? And again, I'm not sure what the answer should be on that. As with most projects on historic buildings, we know that halfway through a project, there's maybe something that is discovered. And we ran into a couple of those issues on our Main Street grant, where there was one structure that some paint had to be removed and there was lead in it. So, you know, what do you do in that case? Do you award extra funds? Do you say it's up to the property owner to take care of those unexpected things? Do we award additional funds up to a certain amount, if there's unexpected things, you know, those are going to be important things we need to kind of plan for and plan for the worst, hope for the best. What happens if there are any liens on the property? You know, should they still be eligible for funding? And then what if someone fails to complete their project? You know, what types of things should we require? What are our next steps if someone doesn't complete what they've told us they're going to be doing? And then what legal issues should we be considering? And that, you know, before we really get into this and start awarding funds, you know, what are those worst case scenarios and how would we rectify those worst case scenarios? So those were just my brief questions, just from doing some research on those other communities. So if you guys could just take some time within the next month and maybe look at some of those applications and guidelines that I put on Google Drive, or just, again, like I said, do some research on your own, and just kind of wrap your minds around really, you know, what we've got and how you envision these funds getting distributed in our community. So what I'm proposing for our time frame for our guidelines and application rollout, at our December 8th Historic Preservation Commission meeting, I'll start putting a framework together of what these guidelines and applications could look like. And then I'm hoping you guys can bring me some of your feedback on those questions that I asked above, and then I can start filling in the blanks. And then at the January 12th Historic Preservation Commission meeting, you know, I'll refine that once again, once I get your feedback on the 8th, and it will be just another version of it. And again, February 9th, we'll do another version of it and just get it really right and how we envision, you know, make sure it's what we want for our community. And then at the March 9th Historic Preservation Commission meeting, I'm hoping we can get those finalized guidelines together in the application and formally adopt it, and then we can make it available to the public and do a rollout with a newspaper article, make sure it's on social media, the website, and then maybe even approach some building owners in the downtown district so that they can ask questions, or maybe we host a Zoom meeting or a face-to-face meeting, depending on, you know, what is going on with COVID at that time. But I think we have a lot of options on communicating what an opportunity this is for our downtown building or business owners. So I know I said a lot of words there.
This is Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Every time we talk about these grants or anything else, the match becomes an issue for a property owner. What options do people have other than, you know, having the cash? Can they use the low interest loan, and I know there were barriers to getting low interest loans. So I don't know that you're going to get a lot of uptake with the 50-50 match right now, because everybody's kind of lean.
That's very true. And that's where I think we need to think about, do we want to do a maximum request and a minimum? And what is enough of a change on a structure that we as a commission will be happy with? So, I mean, we've had several property owners come in the last couple months where maybe Joanne Owens, I know, had some windows that she needed to have replaced because they had damage from the tornado. And that would have been a perfect opportunity where she already was going to be using the funds if we could have talked with her about maybe upgrading the windows or doing some addition, you know, just really doing the project in a way that was more historically accurate than what she was doing. She was just doing a replacement, which is acceptable. But maybe we could have thrown in some extra funds for her. And so I think the projects don't have to be a total facade renovation. I think we can look at doing smaller pieces so that it can be more affordable. But I think we do need to be mindful and have a list of resources available that if someone was doing something they needed some extra help on. I think Main Street Pendleton has a fund that could possibly be tapped into. The Redevelopment Commission has a revolving loan fund. However, I think they might be in the process of revising that right now. So we might have more information about that. Actually, Craig, you're part of that, so you would.
We're doing the same thing on the revolving loan fund, so they could always use that. Let me ask you a question, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
It says here, in your, on your piece that it must be used in a 3-year period.
Yeah.
Funds requested must be matched by matched dollar for dollar. Is that something that we are saying must, or is that part of what the folks who gave us the money say?
We made that commitment to them in the grant application that we put together. So we need
Okay.
to, I think there's some flexibility in it. I don't think I would have to go back if we decided to be somewhat flexible with it. I wouldn't have to go back to the commissioners and re-ask for money or say we've revised our program. However, I think we should try to stick with it. And if it's not working, then we can at least say that we did our best to meet the goals that we said we were going to meet. And if we have to revise those because the program isn't getting used, at the end of the day, we need to spend the money. And they gave it to us to do, you know, a project in downtown Pendleton. So if the 50-50 isn't working, maybe we do look at doing a 75-25 or a 60-30, or, you know, maybe trying to find out where that balance is of it being usable for our downtown business or building owners. So, you know, I guess I would encourage you guys to try to stick with those things that were in the original grant application that we submitted. And if we can show that it's not working for us the way that we originally intended it to, then we revise it and make it work.
Right. And something else to consider, the RDC, members of the RDC are meeting with the Pendleton Business Association to help us redo that revolving loan fund. And so those folks are aware of what the RDC is doing. They're going to be aware of this. They will help us get the word out to the local business and building owners about all this stuff. So, and we have 3 years to use this.
Yes.
So I think we'll be okay on that. And the RDC was pretty adamant that there had to be some match of some kind for the revolving loan fund. It's just not going to fall all over the town. The building owner or the business owner needed to kick in some. So I agree, we should start with the 50-50, and if we have to readjust it, then fine. But these two can work in conjunction too. I mean, I've had conversations with Scott about this, and he said, yeah, these two should work in conjunction. So.
Right. And I think if we do end up going back and doing we can do another Main Street Revitalization Program grant with the state. I mean, we can certainly use this money to help provide match for that project for local business owners too. So I think there's a lot of possibilities, and we can do a lot of creative funding and thinking to just get more bang for our buck. I mean, at the end of the day, in 3 years, if we complete our goal, we'll have $500,000 reinvested back into downtown Pendleton, which is phenomenal.
Right.
And then if you think of how we can leverage that with other grants or opportunities that building owners might have, that could be substantially more money. So
Rachel, is this, as I was reading through all the stuff prior to the meeting, is this something we're going to go for every 3 years, or are we thinking we'll just do it whenever we need it, or will this be a common fund of money for us?
It depends. It really depends on how many applications are received by the commissioners for food and beverage. So it is a competitive program. We've gotten, and it's only, this is in the almost 7 years that I've worked here, this is only the second time we've been asked to apply for it. So they put a call for projects out whenever it's time for us, or whenever it's time to reapply. So, you know, maybe once every 3 years is when we get asked to apply for a new project. And I think we have to be mindful too that there's other community projects in Pendleton that might take priority in 3 years, you know, depending on what's going on in our community. Other communities use this for wastewater treatment facilities. They use it for GIS in their communities. They use it for, like the tram is funded through food and beverage funds. So some communities do wayfinding signage, or that's how we did get our wayfinding signage that we did a few years ago. We had it funded through food and beverage, and then we used that as match for our downtown grant. So that was a, you know, one of those creative funding opportunities. So there's a lot of different types of projects. The ones that are getting funded first with this food and beverage round, like I said, ours is not going to get funded probably until about March. But there's other projects that are more like health and safety issues in Madison County communities that are getting funded before ours. Ours is kind of the I don't want to say fluffier one, but not a health and safety issue. So we didn't take priority. And we as Pendleton residents might have a health and safety issue that we need food and beverage funds for. So I wouldn't count on this 100%, but it is a good opportunity for us to keep in mind.
Cool. All right, any other questions or thoughts about this from the committee?
No, good.
Kevin, anybody? Sandy?
Sandy and I had a pre-meeting in line when we were going to vote the other day, so we were all excited. And
Yeah, about a 3-hour meeting, I think.
I know.
So, yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I think that this is a good thing for the town of Pendleton. I did have a question though. It is for the front facade. You know, we've got the alley there by Falls Perk, and that whole alley needs worked on. Could that money be used back there as a back facade? Is that something?
I say we could make a case for it for sure. When we were doing the Main Street grant, well, when we were just prioritizing downtown projects, we have kind of had this theme or this idea that we would try to do the front doors first.
Yes.
You know, and it's really hard for us to justify cleaning up the back doors and the alleys when our front doors aren't cleaned up and appropriate. But we have done so much work on our front doors that, you know, doing the sides of buildings, doing the backs of buildings, I think we're at that point in time where those things are much more appropriate maybe than where they were 5 years ago. So we've made a lot of progress, and I think we could definitely start working on alleys or backs of buildings for sure. So that's an exciting piece of this too.
Yeah, I think that would be too, because we've got restaurants there and they could have outside seating back there behind their building if the buildings were cleaned up. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if by cleaning up the backs of those buildings also, that would make more space available for parking as well. Because I think there's a lot of potential as you go back and through that alley for a lot of potential for parking that's just not being used.
There's no doubt that work needs to be done back there.
Mhm.
And this makes what Rachel was saying earlier all the more important, that we get these guidelines right, because some of the backs of these buildings could take $250,000.
Yeah, that's,
We have to be really careful with that, but good idea. We got a lot in front of us here.
Yeah.
So thank you for this, Rachel. Thank you very much. This is an excellent starting point.
Well, this was great
So-
because it really started from that joint Historic Preservation Commission meeting and Redevelopment Commission meeting where we sat down and said, this isn't working, you know, this revolving loan fund, what can we do? And that was really when we brainstormed about, hey, this could be a possibility, and here we are. So I appreciate everyone's support on it.
Well, thank you for doing this again and for chasing this money down for us. So folks, we have homework to do. We will come back on December 8th with some thoughts and some answers to Rachel's questions. And anything else on this page or anything else we find in the research that she's done or the research we'll do. Right?
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Good
Thanks,
deal.
Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay. Next, we got.
How do we do this type of there?
I can just present it and
Okay.
then we'll go from there. All right. And actually, if you want to look through the, I have one printout
Okay.
here, so you can kind of look through that.
I do have a question. I see Shannon Kelly. Is she a new member of the board?
Oh, she's from Jeff Graham's office, our attorney.
Okay. Because I know we have one that we need, and so I was just wondering if maybe she was one of those. So, okay, that's it. Thanks.
All right, let me pull up the presentation. Okay, here we are. Let's get through to our. Okay. So we have Martin Insurance's pole sign on the agenda tonight, and this was kind of a different application that Rachel and I just didn't quite feel comfortable making the decision on without the board's approval, just because it was different than anything we'd really seen in the historic district before, and illuminated signs are kind of a touchy subject in the historic district. So we definitely wanted to bring this to the board before anything happened with it that we felt we couldn't quite make the decision on. So I've included the sign application, which is very well put together, or the parts of it that are up on the agenda tonight. As well, there's an image from what it looked like when it was BMO Harris Bank. Here's what it looks like now. We've got 2 grand opening signs on the facade, one for Martin Insurance, which is going in the lower level, and the other for the beauty bar, which is going in the upstairs unit, or what was actually the former clerk treasurer's office. And then the pole sign is currently covered up with a white sheet. And then there's the BMO Harris ATM underneath the awning still. Just another image of it. And then the back parking lot is now mostly public parking, is that correct?
30 of the 38 spots are public parking. And there's 2 up front. Actually, my black truck is up front, and those 2 are, there's 2 spots there that are Martin Insurance parking from 9 to 5, but then after 5 o'clock and on the weekends, those open up as public parking as well. So there's 6 that are technically not public parking 24/7, but those are in the back southwest corner, mainly for my staff to park in.
And those are marked accordingly?
Yes.
Excellent. That's going to be really great. Hopefully, once we get town up and running again, we'll have a healthy parking need.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to outline the COA request.
And I don't know if you got the town, and we've worked with the town on that, and the town is actually leasing that parking lot. I don't know if you guys were aware of that part. I don't know if that matters or not, but just full disclosure.
Thank you. So yeah, the COA request is to reface the existing internally illuminated pole sign with a sign with a white background and dark lettering. The petitioner is willing to leave the sign unlit. That's been in our discussions. Yeah. So it is currently lit like it had been when BMO Harris was there. The reason that's a big deal, to be brief about it, since we're already running a little later than we thought we would tonight. So the historic district design guidelines say, hey, if a structure or a building is non-historic, refer to the planned business design guidelines. While the old structure, the 2-story portion, is considered contributing historic, and also note how our cut sheet on the recommended renovations focuses only on that 2-story section, not any of the awning additions or the 1-story addition or the sign. Because the sign is separate from that structure and is not referenced in those guidelines, that's how I'm interpreting it, to be a separate, non-historic, non-contributing structure that should be held to the planned business design guidelines. So that's the kind of the premise on which I took all of these findings. But if you guys don't agree with that part, that's another thing you have some jurisdiction over. But anyway, once I looked at the planned business design guidelines, then it stated that the internally illuminated sign should be composed of light lettering and symbols on a dark background. And the idea with that is that way at night, you're not like creating a really bright white sign that basically just produces a lot of light pollution. In the historic district, that doesn't contribute to the historic nature of the district. So that's why we're here tonight, why staff felt like they could not make that decision. And then while Tyler was willing to leave it unlit, once again, we just didn't want to leave any room for like, you know, something weird to happen. And, you know, maybe that gets forgotten in a couple of years and it gets lit up again and it's very bright. So the next page. The question for the HPC tonight is it enough to leave the sign unlit or off, or do additional conditions need to be put in place in order to issue a COA? We as staff would have been willing to issue a COA were the background dark or 100% opaque, or were the internal illumination mechanics removed, basically, or torn out. So, but that's where we wanted to introduce you guys to Mr. Martin and kind of get a feel for how you guys wanted to approach this sort of situation and what you wanted to work out. So.
Would switching to a darker background with white lettering be an issue?
I've considered it, and Rachel, I don't know if Kayla and I talked about. Rachel and I talked about doing a gray instead of the white, and I kind of tossed it kind of back and forth with our brand and our colors, and I was like, you know, I think a white would end up being better, but I mean, that's kind of where we kind of landed so far. But yeah, so I
can see where that might be an issue given the DM.
Yeah.
Having the darker color top.
Yeah.
That's something you plan on doing if you had it on a reverse background.
Yeah. So yeah, we'd have to change all of that we spent money branding on.
So I understand.
Yeah.
But George, you're a sign guy, right?
Well, yeah, I've done sign work before, plus branding as well.
Yeah.
And I know what the issues are when it comes to something like that.
Yeah.
If it's a situation where it's the dark and white background, we don't eliminate the sign, that doesn't present an issue for me. But, if the preference, I don't know how you feel about it, but the preference would be, and I would even not have a problem with the sign being illuminated if it were a dark sign that presented no light pollution, as kids did before.
Is there an opportunity with like modern, and maybe our ordinance is a little out of date on this. Can you make a white background 100% opaque so that the light is just coming through the letters?
Well, they're black letters, so I don't know if that would work in this case.
What the dimensions of the sign are? It's I'm looking at it here. It's 5 feet across for the live area.
Mm-hmm.
5 feet. It's 5 feet long.
5'11".
Yeah, or 5'11".
Oh yeah, there we are.
All of that we're speaking of closer to 3.5 feet by the 5'11".
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. You could basically have just if you're doing this on say white acrylic and you're doing a silkscreen sign ink or sign paint on the top, you can do that and make it pretty opaque. So yeah, there's a possibility of doing that. The problem you run into with this particular logo is that black on top of the M. That we have to go to a gray. I didn't know if you guys had ever accommodated for that.
Yeah, we have a lot of different solids and one color, and that's something if we need to, we can start looking at as possibly doing that. I was just I guess one of the questions I had when talking, I think Kayla just brought this up, is to what if we leave it a white background and we don't light it, to what degree do I have to dismantle the sign electronics? That's the question. I think that's the biggest question today for me is there's a junction box at the bottom of the sign. That circuit that runs the sign also runs all the security lights around the entire building. So we can't just flip a breaker. So there is a junction box at the bottom of the sign. Could we just unwire that junction box and say, if I ever decide to sell the building or we rebrand in the future and I can use a dark background and I want to petition to have the sign lit with a dark background later, I don't want to damage my sign forever.
No.
I just thought unwiring the sign at the junction box and capping it, and
I would say that'd be sufficient. Yeah, absolutely.
Andy, Kevin, what do you think?
I pretty much agree with not lighting the sign. I'd like to see that as the best choice. And Martin's not open during the evening anyway, is it? They're just during normal hours during the day, aren't they?
Correct.
So to me, leaving it as it is fine. I know the importance of branding, the white background and everything else, but not lighting it at all seems like the best solution that wouldn't detract from the downtown.
Tyler, would it be an issue to do your sign where it's not transparent, but it's an opaque sign so that you don't have to dismantle your sign at all?
Yeah, I mean, as far as from what we've talked about tonight, I don't think dismantling it really would be an issue if we unhook the electrics from the junction box at the bottom and cap it.
Be cheaper than making an opaque sign.
Yeah, it'd be, yeah.
Well, could you actually apply a vinyl to the existing sign and use that instead of having to do a silk screen?
Well, yeah, I mean, the quote or the bid for this is basically a new piece, because that's solid colored already. So they're basically going to take a whole white acrylic and wrap the whole thing.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's all they're going to do anyways. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So am I hearing we're all good with white background color that you want, but the sign stays off unwired at the junction boxes? Are we good with that?
Yep, I'm good with that.
I'll go with that as well.
I did have a question about the height of the sign. Is the present sign, the new sign going to be bigger than what's there right now? Or am I
No,
reading that?
and you just being refaced.
Yeah, it's just refacing the existing sign.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure the photograph of it made it look like it was bigger than the other one. So if it's the same size, I'm good with that too.
That give you what you need?
That gives me what I need. Do you guys want to make a motion on it?
Yes, we should.
Okay.
I make the motion, we accept, except disconnecting the power source at the junction and wrapping the sign.
We have a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second it.
Any other conversation about this? Hearing none. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
All right.
Can I ask one other question about the building
Sure.
specifically? We've been going back and forth on several different things to do with the building from an exterior standpoint. And the one resounding thing that everyone wants to do is rip off the drive-through canopy. And
So do we.
me too, you guys do. I think we all do, right? So
You should apply for a facade grant, I think.
yeah, well, because one of the big things we want to do is we want to make it in and out there.
Mhm.
By ripping off the canopy, we can accommodate that. So the parking's easier to use for everyone. But when we do that, we're going to leave a huge gaping hole in the metal. And so, and obviously, we're changing the mass of the structure, so we have to get a COA of that. And so my question is
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
Did you purchase the building?
yes,
Okay,
we own the building. Yeah.
we go ahead.
Yep. So the question is we went back and forth about, putting new metal in the building at some point as a maintenance issue or painting it and doing this and that. But regardless, at whatever point we tear that canopy off, we're going to have a large hole that's going to need remetaled. Until we decide to do a larger facade, update to the building, whether it's new metal or new whatever it is, what would be the process to rip the canopy off, have my metal fab guys make matching metal that would match what is existing everywhere else, just to match that for now until we go forward with, something larger? What would be the process for that?
Be the same, come to get a COA.
Okay.
Our preference when BMO still owned it, or whoever owned it, when they came to talk to us, was to remove the entire mansard, all of the metal, and just have the old building.
Sure.
So if you could get around to that someday, you'd be the hero of Pendleton.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with that is the one-story structure was built with that in mind, and we've gotten up inside there, and that's not really,
I was afraid of that.
it's not really a possibility, unfortunately.
do you think there's a way to separate off that 1-story section, like a separate facade at some point?
I mean, I don't personally see how, honest. I mean, just because when we did, we actually had to do a bunch of roof patches a couple weeks ago after we had that 4.5 inches of rain. And when I had my guys in there, we kind of dug around in there to see. And I mean, the way it's joined up, and then even on the corner, if you look, the brick at the bottom sticks out further than the brick at the top.
Yes, yeah, we've noticed that.
And so really there's no, I mean, I don't,
So you think the brick on the bottom, in order to maintain or go back to the original facade, you'd have to shear off that brick?
yeah, and I just
Yeah.
don't, yeah, I mean, from a
I just
financial,
wonder if there's
yeah.
a way architecturally to be able to use that and somehow make a step up to the
Right.
second story of the facade.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always gonna have something there because the sides don't match, and there's
Right.
about 3 or 4 different kinds of brick on that building, just from different time periods of work, but the brick doesn't go up all the way underneath that mansard panel, it stops.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I mean, like
So
on the
vents
ones,
is protecting that brick.
yeah, and so when they put that on there, I mean, it's right below that limestone cap, and it's,
I assume that also changed. That, it looks like that window, like that reverse bay window there
yeah,
used to be the original
yeah, it was.
opening.
Yeah, at one
Yeah.
point, yeah. And as much block work and brick work that's done right there, I mean, there's a lot
I
there.
understand. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I guess that was the question I would have is, you know, I'm not formally petitioning, obviously, but I just didn't know if we were to get the canopy off there, how big of a deal it would be to have my metal fab guys kind of just fab that up and
Same deal.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, it's like, would you approach it as, let's try to match the building more stylistically than the canopy that's on there now?
yeah,
Maybe finding a way to either, because I think right now, it's huge. And I wonder if there's a way to do that to kind of minimize that footprint
yeah.
on the building.
I think one of the big things is if we could get the drive-through canopy off, we're gonna, like I just said, we're gonna create a big hole. That gives us the opportunity to see really what we're getting into without ripping it all off. You know, ripping off a whole back or a whole front. We would just have, you know, a 15-foot section to fix the hole, but it would allow us to see what's in there. So, you know, when the facade grants do come up, we know more so what we're working with, and we can photograph it well and take it to an architect and be like, hey, what can we do? But that's about the only way we're going to get a look at what's underneath there without really doing a bunch of damage that may be irreparable. So,
No, but to answer your question, it's the same. Just come to Kayla.
Okay.
This is Kevin again. The old part of the building, when was that built?
I've heard 1905, I've heard 1910. I didn't find any dated bricks when we were when we were in there, but it's old.
You'd already
Yeah.
found this.
One thing that the DNR or the Department of Interior doesn't want to do is create a false sense of antiquity, and so whatever you did to take the shed roof or what do you want to call that off, and then did something to the front facade, that would be really strange. So I don't know what the best solution is, but I wouldn't personally like the idea of trying to create a false old-looking building out of it, one way or another.
So it sounds like if you apply for a COA to do what you were just requesting with tearing down the awning and patching, that might be a good place to start.
Okay.
It sounds like, so.
Well, I would, because my guys that would do it, they have not a lot to do in the winter, so that's something I could probably get done over the winter, you know, while, you know, people aren't as busy, so maybe I'll come back in December with that COA and try to get it done.
All right, I'll get you the application
Okay.
before we leave tonight. Yep, that'd be a good first step.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay.
Sorry to take up extra time.
No, we're sorry, we took so long tonight.
We appreciate the question.
Hey, gets us out of the house.
Yeah.
We do have, I think, a couple attendees from the Daughters of the American Revolution. Let me see here. Okay, we've got Cecilia Calvert and Deborah Hale. Do either of you have anything to mention tonight about the cemetery project?
I emailed Kayla an update today. Can you hear me all right? Okay.
Yep.
We did investigate military headstones for the 2 patriots that we know are buried in the cemetery. However, we cannot locate the exact plot where they're buried. And so that is not, that's one of the requirements for the military. So our second plan is for our chapter to create DAR markers similar to what Nathaniel Richmond now has in the military section, and place them as a memorial rather than a headstone type thing, again, in the military section. So that's kind of where we are right now. I sent a couple of examples on email to Kayla. The second thing that we had talked about was a large historic marker. That is still on the table, but probably not for the immediate future. All of these projects that our chapter is doing is looking forward to the 250th anniversary of our Constitution. So this is, several long-range projects, but hopefully we would be able to add those 2 small memorial markers for William Wall and Philip Hobaugh, who fought in the Revolutionary War and are buried in, according to family histories, are buried in Grove Lawn. We would be able to accomplish that in 2021, and if with any luck, before any proposed Pendleton bicentennial celebration. So that's just where we are right now.
Cecilia did email me earlier, and it looks like we can handle this all kind of among staff from here on out, because we got just a positive read from the board last time we all talked about this, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, Cecilia. It's very good.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That is
That's
all I
it.
have.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Randy, you good with adjourning?
Yeah, I'm good with adjourning. I'm sorry about being late.
We appreciate it. Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Let's get you.
Okay, cool.
See you later.
Hey, and what?
Bye.
Where do you live?
We live on 900 South and towards the forward.
Okay.
So right by Philburn's green bins they have there. So we live in the woods there. So. Yeah, so the only thing we have in town is the building, but we're out of towners.
And you're moving from the B shops, right, over by Needler's?
Yeah, we were in the Pendleton shops. We were there for 8 years, and then we were in Falls Park Plaza for 5, which seems crazy, but yeah. So we've been here since 07. So. I've been looking for a building for like 5, so it's not easy to find the right building. So
It's working out. Okay, so we've been watching the build out.
yeah, it's great. We've been in since we actually moved in September 1st, and it was the upstairs was funny. Like you said, it was the clerk treasurer's office. That place hadn't been touched since probably 91. I mean,
Really?
Wow. It was a little rough up there, and then downstairs on the outside it looked really. It didn't look that bad. When you start tearing stuff up, man, it goes.
I have an old house, trust me.
Yeah.
You never know what you'll find.
Oh, we find all kinds of stuff.
Our office in Muncie was we're right across from like the tailgate field at Ball State, and it was the original farmhouse for the farm that was there. So and that's the one that you like. Now that we're done with we remodeled it 20 years ago, I think. And like, oh, we probably should have just tore it down and started over. But this office has been great. It's interesting to have a bunch of bolts that you're not sure what to do with, but we have all the combinations, so it's kind of neat. So anyways, well, thanks for everything.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
All right, yep.
George, thank you.
Hey, you too, sir.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Kayla,
So how's your house coming, Kayla?
Oh, my.